Hello, guys. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Daily Teachings. All right, guys. Busy earnings season. Some craziness today. Market down and market up. So a lot of things going on, but definitely a decent day. We had good trades at the open. We had some good calls. A lot of traders had a bearish bias, so it was a little tough. We'll talk about that. But anyways, before we start to recap our earning trades, and let's do a quick introduction. So anybody who's new to my YouTube videos, new to my recap, new to our Twitter accounts, X accounts, all these recaps, all these trades, and all these teachings are from anything that I share on X, I share on previous YouTube videos, or I share in my our community. We trade a repeatable system. We trade a repeatable system called Ripster EMA cloud system to trade the markets. We trade that system and we have repeatable setups. We do not trade random. When our setup shows up, we trade it. And, we try to have small losers, big winners. We make a pre-market plan every day for our trades. What you see in front of you is a pre-market plan for today. A lot of plays there, but I do highlight the important plays as red, so the traders can focus on the red plays and on the high focus plays, because that's why I turn them red. We make a plan, we have a support level, we have a resistance level, and we do have an initial bias in the pre-market for everything we are playing. Tesla, Apple, SPY, these are the index stocks. We have upgrade, downgrades, we have earnings, we have news plays. So we have this plan, and I make this plan live in the community half an hour before the market open, and then we execute that plan. In addition to this, we also have, we provide the levels for index and ETFs, index stocks and ETFs. So you guys, the traders can trade those setups. We provide those levels. We also provide something called Ripster Day 2, Day 3 setups. This is a repeatable strategy that I invented. I try to put my top plays on the top. You can see the spot, which was one of our top play on the Day 2 today. So we'll discuss that. This again, we have initial notes, initial bias, and based upon that bias, we trade it in the community, and I have to find the winners. Again, repeatable. We only go long or short based on what our system tells us. We also trade crypto stocks in the community. We provide a crypto support and resistance levels in the market, and you pre-market, and you can trade those using the EMA cloud system. We also trade futures. You can trade the futures with, I do a live guidance on these as well. SPY, QQQ, ES, NASDAQ futures. Oil futures was pretty good today on the news alert that we had. So basically we try to trade everything, and different traders in the community trade different stuff. We also have a low float watch list. We have a low float room where our low float traders are active all day trading the low floats, and we also trade IPOs. So anyways, so we make a full plan like you see here in the pre-market, and every trader, whatever setup they like, they trade that. What setup I like, I trade that. I'm on the voice in the at the open for first 2 to 3 hours, guiding the traders through the morning session. After that, if it's really something important, a hard day, I'm on the voice all day. Sometimes you don't really need to trade all day, because most of our money is paid. Most of our money is made in the first few hours of the market open, like you will see today. We have a lot of tools in the community. We have 3-4 option flow scanners. We have stock scanners. We have audio breaking news alerts. We have audio scanners which alert the scans from our feed, what stocks are moving, what's are not. We have halt, unhalt. We have bookmap tool. We have support resistance alerts. We have a lot of these tools which are free in the community, which are worth $500, $600 a month. And they provide great value in the community. Thousands of traders are in the community all day long. They're trading on our trading floor, sharing trade ideas, trying to find the opportunities in the market to make money, keeping our losers small and winners big. That's what we try to do in the community. Anyways, that was a quick introduction. Let's start with today's recap. All right, so let's start with SPY and QQQ. Let's look at the SPY chart, what it did by end of the day. So SPY really closed the last day of the month very bullish, and let's see how we traded it. Same for QQQ. So let's go back to our SPY QQQ timestamp guidance and see what was my guidance all day. So as soon as the market opened, we have, there was a GDP came lower for first time in many years. The fears of recession were there. So market was weak on that. Let's see the plan on SPY here. The plan on SPY was payrolls lower, GDP lower, recession fears. VIX over 26, we will short the market. 26.60, 27, we will short the market. If only long the market if we get a 512 curls. VIX under 26, we can look to long the market. We will watch the Magnificent 7, amateur trend move, and 10 a.m. concepts. So we had this all planned out, our repeatable concepts. As soon as the market opened, let's look at, there we go, SPY. So let me make it a big here. So as you see that, as soon as the market opened, the first move, it started to push, rejected this candle, and started to reject. That's when I told the traders to short it. Bearish amateur move, watching the pre-market lows. As soon as it started to flush, I told the traders short under the pre-market lows. And from that short, we pushed towards our 10 a.m. target. So we always look to trade into the 10 a.m. We always looked in 10 a.m.s, and the reason we were short was because at the open, if you look at VIX, the VIX was, let's see here. So VIX was bouncing over the 26, 27 level right into 10 a.m. VIX pushed into a 28 big level. 28 is a big level. It is historic level. It always finds a support here, and you see where it is rejected. That was VIX 28, and that's when the market bounced, and that's fine. 10 a.m. concept, that 10 a.m. if something happens, a lot of traders do like to trade that 10 a.m. bounce. I recommend new traders to not trade it because sometimes it will push and it flush, right? So we got the 10 a.m. bounce, no flush, push, and then we hit 512s. And that's where you get out of all your shorts. Of course, you're locking your shorts because this was from 546 all the way to 542s. There was a $4 flush, enough to make 100% on your puts, get done with the day on the first 30 minutes. This is when it was a curl. Then came the 512 calls on SPY. I was on the voice. I told the traders, you can trade the 512. You see there's a 512 test at 1020s. You can trade this 512 longs. Use the stops as a 10-minute candle lows. So that's what I told the traders, to use the stops as a 10-minute candle lows. Because you see this, if you can see this, let me remove it. You see this candle you're trading. This is your stop. This is where you start to long it, and as it starts pushing, you keep moving your stops up. So that was our 512 long, and as it started to push up, I gave the target of 3450. We hit our 3450 target, then we hit our MTF target. So it was a nice little move from 546 to 550, same kind of move which we shorted, and that was your long setup. And you could make, if you're trading options, you can risk $500, $1,000, you made another, probably 100%, $1,000 on zero DTEs, or you can trade leverage ETFs. But the point is, this is where you buy, and once it breaks here, this is where you sell. It did try to break down here, and we were looking to short, but that short did not work, and it pushed right back. And at that time, I told traders to sit on the hands. After this time was just the chop. We did not really do anything. So the trade was this. This was our morning short into 10 a.m. This is not really a good setup. This is a D- bounce. But my guidance was to trade this long from here right into the MTF clouds. A lot of traders were still bearish. Even when we started to push here, they tried to short it because they were thinking about GDP and all the macro news. But we can't do that. We have to focus on our system. The system is telling us that market doesn't want to fade. Market tried to fade, held, and that told me that I need to step away. Short is done, long is done. This is just the chop. It did push there, but not my favorite setup. And it did squeeze end of the day. You see that it squeezed from the MTF clouds here. You could trade that, but this was the main trade. And same was for QQQ as well. So that was the complete story here. All right, so next one we're going to look at is on Tesla. So Tesla, it was a short for us today. So let's look at the pre-market planning, and then we look at the guidance. A lot of my guidance is on the voice. I'm on voice, so you can't see here that, but I will let you know what our guidance was here on the timestamps. So Tesla had some news. So it was a bearish bias under MTF, trade versus MTF. These were the levels I gave. So as soon as I see the weakness in the market, and as soon as I saw the Tesla rejecting, I told the traders short, 276 breaks, get us lower. You see this, right? So you shorted, and Tesla was fading, you shorted. It's a bear flag. And your target I gave was 270, 270. That was my first target, and we did hit that target 270, 270. Soon enough. By 9:50 we hit that target, and then we flushed further to 270. That was my final target at by 10 a.m. we hit that target, and I told the traders to lock 60% of the position. And then market started to bounce, Tesla started to bounce. I told the traders that we are going to bounce back to 278, and that we are going to bounce to 512. You have to make a judgment call, because this was your main trade. You have to start covering or reducing your positions, because look at the air gap. So much air gap between the bottoms and the tops. Otherwise, you'll lose a lot of your money, especially if you did not lock anything. So once it pushed here, it rejected, still stayed heavy, still swiped, and this is where you exited. So that was our final exit on Tesla. You could always short the 512 rejections, stops right here, and you see that the second trade did not work. You get out. Tesla did give a 512 push into 3450. All right trade, nothing crazy, but this was our main trade. And after that, it was a little choppy, no trades after that. But the main trade on Tesla was in the morning, and at the same time, many other stocks also faded into 10 a.m. Amazon faded into 10 a.m. Meta faded into 10 a.m. So not a lot of fade. So you have to understand this 10 a.m. concept. If something is not making a lower low after 10 a.m., you have to be careful. We also had some news on 10 a.m. which was not entirely bullish, but regardless, market held its trade. All right, so let's look at Spotify. Spot. So why were we focused on Spot? If you watch my yesterday's short videos, I covered the trades on Spot when we were short and we got a midday call. So initially Spot was bearish, but then Spot started to push. Let's look at our pre-market planning here on Spot. Traders in the community, they need to focus on, it was our number one trade on the day 2 setup, 575 resistance, 591. Price near daily 2021, 1 hour MTF above. So the traders have all the information. You see that we are bouncing from the MTFs, right? What is it? It's a daily 20 EMA. So when a stock bounces from daily 20 EMA, it's very important for your swing positions, your trade positions. You know that it's holding 20 EMA and gets a bullish here. I was, I didn't see it early enough, but a lot of traders were already trading long. But I did tell them that it's breaking MTF for the day too long, and I gave the stops at 600, and Spot rallied all day long to the highs, guys. So you see it's a very easy setup if you focus on these strategies that I give you. And by end of the day, I did say Spot will give us a little bit more, and it squeezed a little bit more. It ran all day. Either you long here at 572s, you long here at 586. It was a good trade. It was a post-earning day 2 trade. All right, so next one we're going to look at is NVIDIA. So NVIDIA was 512 calls. Let's see here. NVIDIA was a 512 calls. One is started to push right here, around the 1017, this area. So your stops were at 105. So NVIDIA gave a push, right into the MTFs. You can see that it pushed from 105.50s, 105.50s towards 106.70s. But then it broke under, so had to take a stop and move on, because then it was chopping. Yes, it recovered again, but it was a little tough to trade. The trend was not clean. When this happens, it's not a clean trend. It's hard to trade. But I do wanted to talk about this 512 call right from that 105 area. You could long here 105.50s, wherever, stops at 105 or 105.20s. Make a little bit, 20-30% on the options, or make a dollar. Nothing super great, but just wanted to show that how the NVIDIA trend was today. All right, so next one we're going to look at is First Solar. So guys, it's about the earning setups, right? We have to trade our earning setups, because earning setups provide most of the good opportunity for us. I did tweet out that as well. Let's see here. Even in the morning, I talked about these relative strength names. So they were, let's see here, if I can show you guys. So you could see that we had these level, I talked about FSLR, SMCI, StarBucks, all are relative strength longs this morning, right? FSLR, SMCI, StarBucks, and we will talk about them. And by the end of the day, they were beautiful, beautiful movers. Why? Because there was relative strength. Market, we did, talking about FSLR, let's go back to FSLR, the pre-market planning here, one of our top earning plays, only long if pre-market lows hold and 3450 calls. So you see that I gave the complete guidance in the pre-market. These are resistance levels. And as soon as First Solar started to push, I told the traders to long it. But when it started to dip here and market was heavy, I did cancel the 512s, because of the market. I told the traders cancel it because if it broke down, it could pull to the 512 clouds. So so that was maybe, I could have waited it, but I didn't want the traders, to size too much and get a loss. So that's why I guided the traders to cancel it, the 512 clouds. But then what happened was market started to bounce at 10 a.m. and then we got our 512 calls again. And that's when I told the traders, there's a 512, it's a relative strength. So a lot of traders long it, we long it. It's a 512 call long for the traders. And from that, I gave the target of 135. And once we saw this flag break at 11 a.m., I said flag break, now target 126. So then the final target was 127.50. Just like I teach you every day to draw a Fibonacci from yesterday close to the lows, you can do that, or you can do from the low of the day there, whatever you feel like, you can draw that, I can from here. So this was a Fibonacci right here, right around this area. So that's why I gave that as my final target. And once it broke 512s, we were out of it. On First Solar, I told the traders, exit at 1227. I told them to exit. So you see that even if you long at 121 and you're risking what, $1, even then you got like $5-6 here. So you hold even in this thing, and you hit your target, you exit. So that was a First Solar trade. Options were a little illiquid, but definitely was a good trade in the community today. You can see that why it kind of almost, we hesitated here, but at the end of the day, the plan worked, the calls worked, and it hit our targets. All right, so next one we're going to look at APP. So let's see what was happening on APP. So APP was 512 calls right at the open. So you have to, I tell the traders, do not wait on me. I give the planning in the pre-market. You see APP. I also made it highlighted, right? Bearish buys, cloud confluence resistance. If pre-market holds, you can watch the 512 calls. And that's exactly what it did. It pushed over the 512s. So that tells you that it's a long. You can long here, you can long this pullback. Your stops have to be using these candles, maybe 251 or 252s. And they were all 512. Even at 10 a.m., I told the traders, all held 512 calls. So you stay long. The target was 3450, and we hit the 3450, and it still held, and it pushed to 272s. You see that how app was a good long trade in the community. So next one we're going to look at is Starbucks. So Starbucks, another earning play. Let's look at our pre-market guidance on Starbucks. What was our guidance on Starbucks? The pre-market planning on Starbucks, another focus play. Extended to the downside, watch the 512 calls, bearish to neutral bias. When I say extended, that means it is kind of too much fade and it can bounce. And that's exactly what did Starbucks right away. It curled over the 512s, right? 512 curl long C minus. I tell the traders C minus so that they understand that's still under 3450, right? It's not a short. The stops are at 77.20. Once it started to push, I gave those stops. As it started to move up, I gave the stops at 78, and the target was $80. And by 10:44, by midday, we hit our 80 targets, and this is where you exit. So you see $80 target that I gave way earlier at 10:44, and right here, and we hit our 80 target, right? So the long morning guidance 942s, 77 stops, and we hit our targets on Starbucks. Beautiful trade all day long. We'll be watching it tomorrow as well. All right, let's look at SMCI. If market was not bearish this morning, a lot of trades would be high confidence. We kind of hesitated on our positions and on our setups initially because the market was weak. SMCI also kind of, stopped us out, but then it reclaimed. So see, 512 calls, no short. That's what I tell the traders. The stops I gave was 29.18. By end of the day, it never really hit our stops. And if you long here, never hit our stops. But of course, we moved the stops higher. The target on SMCI was 31. And it was a little choppy at 512s. And once we started to push, you see this candle? Yeah, this candle tells us, that it's risky, get out. But when you see this reclaim, you get back in, you put your stops right under here. And from that, this SMCI also pushed to our 31 target. In this scenario, you have to use 34.50 as your stops. And we never broke 34.50. And we pushed again, end of the day, gave us a nice little trade. So SMCI was another winner for us. Let's go to the next one. So Humana, we were bullish bias in the pre-market, but let's see here. So Humana was bullish bias versus 512, no go under 272. So as soon as it breaks 272, it becomes a short, right? As soon as it breaks that, it becomes a short. I told the traders, full gap fill, RGV was guiding on hum, and you see that it flushed, bounced to 512s, reshorted again, and flushed again. So it was not a long all day, maybe here, but it was a short. So you can see that how it was a gap and crap. There were so many setups today. You don't need to trade everything. I guide through every trade because thousands of traders in the community, somebody's trading something else, somebody's trading something else. So I need to make sure that I have them guidance so they hold their positions or they know they are doing it right. Although most of my traders in the community are self-dependent because they have learned the system, but still every day I make sure the traders know what they're doing. So next one we're going to look at is a Caterpillar. So Caterpillar, let's see what was the plan. So Caterpillar was also our short, full gap, fill target on the gap and crap. So that's what I told them. We actually, even faded more. Let's go to the pre-market planning on Caterpillar. So Caterpillar, MTF above, only long if 310 holds. And once it broke the 310, there was no long. Flushed, and then bounced to 512s. And MTF bounce, cover some, stops 309. Once it bounced here, we put our stops at 309. And then, it faded all day from that stop as well. Yeah, so that was also another gap and crap setup was CAT. So another one we're going to look at is YUM. So YUM was, we tried to short it. It did not work, bounced right back. So short was a loser, but then it became a 512, 34.50 long, MTF, double MTF push, and it pushed all day to the upside. You can see the power of the MTF clouds here. So that was a short loser on YUM, but I did tell the traders that it's back over the 512, so that means no longer a short. And, and same was for the Visa, right? So Visa was also, a 512 long call here, not a short. So those were our two of those earning plays. So next one we're going to look at is Etsy. So Etsy was a short, again, all day short. Etsy likes to fade. I mean, Etsy has been a trash company for a while. MTF Confluence, short under it, long over, MTF bunch. So there you see there's a bunch of MTFs here. 1 MTF, 2 MTF, and 3 MTF. And it dropped under all those MTFs. And that becomes a high probability short because it's under the MTFs, all heavy. I didn't really guide too much on that, but most of the traders who know in the community that it was an easy short. Yeah, Craig was short on Etsy, and you can see that all day it faded from that MTFs and all day down. It was an easy short. Let's look at a few of other trades today. Not really, I didn't trade those, but just to recap, Wingstop was pretty strong in the community today. Wing was pretty good. You see how it pushed over the first MTF, second MTF all day long. And then we had this ODD, which reclaimed 34.50 and pushed all there. All of them was on our watch list. ODD was there, and Wingstop, we had bearish bias trade versus MTF, no short over MTF. So once Wing pushed over MTF, there was no short, right? You see that? And Wingstop was really, really crazy mover today. There are a few other names. There was Garmin. Garmin was a bearish biased set up. Bearish buys short the pops. It did push, stopped out on the shorts here, but it did give a midday short as well right here on the fade. So that was it. Let's see if anything else. All right, let's look at DELL. Yeah, so DELL was also with the SMCI. Let's look here. DELL was an SMCI sympathy, bearish bias. If PM lows hold, can watch the 512 curls. If SMCI is curling, DELL has also to curl. You see that how DELL was bouncing on those MTF clouds and pushing all the day. And MTF magnet. You see from this magnet, it hit that magnet. This hit this one. So that's an MTF magnet on DELL.